What's going on? Scott Elkington here to teach you how to use the Practice Better app as far as food journaling, just so you can be as accurate as possible and learn the ropes right away. And you'll also be able to refer back to this video in future times when you kind of need to brush up on something or want to kind of investigate a little bit further about how something specific works. Now, if you're one of my nutrition clients, one of my one-on-one clients, it's going to be very important that you get 5 to 7 days of solid food and drink data logged into the app, just so we can identify a calorie target for you that's in line with your goals. It'll also help us identify opportunities for improvement related to your food habits, your eating habits. It's kind of equivalent to a car mechanic getting under the hood. You know, we don't really know what we're looking at or what we're getting into until we actually get under there. We could see exactly what's going on. That's where we could see what fixes, what things we need to start working on change. And so this is going to allow us to make sure that you're getting enough protein for muscle growth, muscle maintenance, getting enough carbs to promote optimal energy levels, getting enough fiber to sustain those energy levels for longer periods of time, as well as getting enough vitamins and minerals to allow your body to function optimally. One thing I want you to remember is that you should really set perfectionism aside, because this is always going to be an estimate. We are never going to be 100% accurate. All we can do is try our best to get as close as we can, and just think about this as a learning tool that's going to help you to kind of learn how different foods come together to create a healthy diet and to promote optimal energy levels, promote that high level performance, both mentally and physically. So leave perfectionism at the door, but keep in mind that, you know, the more you do this, the easier it's gonna get. Just like with anything, just like with, you know, habits that we're gonna have you start working on, as you do something, it gets easier with repetitions. So just keep that in mind. Don't be hard on yourself, and remember, this is just a learning experience. So give yourself permission to learn as you go and to make those mistakes, and don't be afraid to ask me if you're wondering about something and it's not covered in this video, or you want me to go into it in further detail. No worries, I can totally do that. Now I'm about to log into the Practice Better app. I'm gonna show you 3 different ways to log your food intake. The first one is just gonna be typing the foods in, entering them in. The second one's going to be actually transcribing nutrition data from a label, nutrition facts label, either from a restaurant or from a label from a food that is packaged. And then the last way, I'm going to show you how to actually enter in a recipe that you maybe create at home that has all the ingredients that you kind of do on a regular basis. And so if it's a recipe that you make frequently, it is handy to just add it into the database, and then all you have to do is type in whatever you titled it, and in the future you're able to just pull that recipe up super quick without having to manually type in every single food ingredient. So let's get into the app and I'll show you everything there. Let's do it.
Now that we are here and we have the Practice Better app opened, I'm at the home page now, but I'm going to click on journals, and that's going to take me to the food journal where you track your food intake. And then from here, you can see I have already logged some things today. You hit the plus button and then log a food, and that's going to open up the little search bar where you can type in what you're going to add to the food journal. So you can type in the food item that you ate in the search bar, which will work best for whole foods that don't have nutrition labels. Some branded packaged foods will be in there that you might be able to find, but you may have to use some of the other methods in order to get some of these brands in there. And a workaround for that is, a lot of times you could find a similar brand to what you're actually having. As long as the product is similar, the estimate will probably be close enough. So from here, we're going to type something in. How about I'll do salmon. And there's different things in here, but let me just go down. So it looks like salmon fillet. I'm going to click salmon fillet. And we have different options here. So we could say 1 fillet. That's not that specific to what we're having. So I could click on here and I could say, oh, okay, 3 ounces. And I could say how many 3 ounces servings I had. If I had 2 3-ounce servings, I would put 2 there. could also do it in grams, and we could do it as ounces here. 3 ounces of salmon is about the size of a checkbook, so that's easy to do. If I had about the size of a checkbook, I would say I had 1 serving of that. You can look at the nutrient breakdown, percent of calories from protein, fat, and carbs, as well as all of the nutrients here. From here, select save, and it's going to add it to my food journal here. And so I'm putting it under lunch because that is the next meal that I'm going to have. From here, you just continue adding all the other foods that you had with that meal in the correct portion sizes. And I'm going to tell you how to estimate portion sizes soon. But for now, I'm just going to log the data. So half a cup chopped serving. So if I had 2 of those, that would be 1 full cup. And then I had some white rice with the salmon, so I'm going to add that here. And it looks like it's already set as a cup, so I'm going to enter that in because a cup is about the size of a fist, and that's what I'm going to enter because that's what I had. And there we go. Now you can also look at the calories, you can look at the carbs, the fat, the grams from protein. You can even see the nutrient breakdown of the meal. How many calories are coming from each of the macronutrients, protein, fat, or carbs. You can also scroll down and look at all the different nutrients that were in that meal. So very handy. This really helps us get down to it. So this can be an effective method, when you're in a pinch and you're short on time. All right, so the next method I'm going to show you is how to add a food item when you have the nutrition data either from a restaurant website or from a nutrition facts label. This is a good way to add something that you have regularly, or if it's a restaurant that you go to regularly and you get the same thing, it'd be very handy just to put it in there. So you go to add. From there, go to add a new food. Then you're going to want to name the food. All right, so I'm going to add a food item that I get frequently from Taco Bell. It is the veggie Mexican pizza. So you type in the name of the food. The brand name would be either the restaurant or the brand. So Taco Bell. From here, serving size is going to be 1. It could be, depending on what it is, this time it's going to be 1 pizza, but it could be 1 cup, it could be 1 ounce, it could be 1 biscuit, it could be 1 cracker, just depending, it's 1 of something, however you're denominating it. Servings per container, I really don't think that this matters that much, but I would put 1 no matter what. You could copy, if it says, 4 servings per container, you could put 4. I don't see that it makes any difference whether you put 1 or 4. It doesn't seem to change anything. So from here, you're going to hit calories. You want to do calories. You want to do protein. You want to do carbohydrates. And you want to do fat. And then the last one is fiber. Those are the most important nutrients that we want to track. And then depending on what you're focusing on, further down the line, we may have you add nutrients for other vitamins or minerals. But for now, this is going to be plenty. 7 grams of fiber from this veggie Mexican pizza, not bad. And then you hit save. And now it's pulling it up for me to log it in. So if I had 1 Mexican pizza, I would put 1. I'll put 1 Mexican pizza, and it enters it in there. And then in future times, you can just go and search for veggie Mexican pizza. And there it is. Looks like I already had 1 in there, so I've got 2. So that's the second way on how to add either restaurant nutrition facts information or nutrition facts information from a nutrition facts label. So I'm going to delete these now, and I am going to show you the final way to add food into your food tracking data. And this is to add a recipe. And this is appropriate for recipes that you commonly eat at home, on a regular basis. It'll really save you time. If it's something you're having on the regular, you might as well just put it in as a recipe. So I'm going to go back to our salmon, rice, and broccoli recipe here. And so from here, you go add food. You go to add a recipe. I'm going to say salmon, rice, and broccoli. It's 1 serving because that's how much I'm putting in. Description, I'm just going to say how much of each thing it is, just so that I know. So I'll just say 4 ounces salmon, 1 cup rice, 1 cup broccoli. And so this is just so that I can refer back to it, or you can refer back to it, and you remember what a serving of each of those items is. So I got the salmon here, and I'm gonna hit salmon fillet. I don't really like fillet because it doesn't say how big the fillet is, so I'm gonna say 4 ounces of salmon this time, and then hit add. Now, notice I did put 1 serving. If you were to put more than 1 serving, it will divide the food items you're putting by that number because it's breaking it down per serving. Because when you go to enter it, you're going to say how many servings that you had. In this case, I put 1, so 233 calories is all from that 1 4-ounce salmon fillet. There's my cup of rice. Oh, and I just made the mistake I was going to show you guys to not make. So why don't I go back and show you how to fix it. So from here, to get back to any recipe, you click on the hamburger icon at the top left, click on nutrition, then you go to my recipes, and you'll see all the recipes that you've entered in. You can see I've entered quite a few recipes in here. And I have my salmon, rice, and broccoli, and I hit edit. There it is. So the issue that I just ran into was, and I'm glad actually I did it on myself on accident, when you type in the food item, so white rice, you select it, it gets really confusing because if you hit save right here, it's going to save the recipe without actually adding the white rice to it, and then it's just going to close it and want you to add it to the journal. So you have to scroll down a little bit and actually click add, because that's going to add the rice to this salmon. See? There it is. And then the last one was the broccoli. Half a cup chopped. Since I said 1 cup, I'm going to say 2. Be sure to just scroll down a little bit and hit add instead of save. There you go. So now it's calculating all the nutritionals. I can see that I have my 3 items in there. And from here, I can hit save. And now it's been updated. I can go back to my journal. I can go to lunch and I can type in that salmon, rice, and broccoli recipe, and it looks like I've actually added it in here multiple times for examples. So you click on it, it's going to show you the whole breakdown, and since this is a recipe that you entered that is in the portions that you would normally eat in a meal, it should all be good to go. So you just click on it, 1 serving, hit save, and then it enters it right into your food journal. So a little bit of work at the beginning just to get it in there. Not so much with this 3-ingredient recipe, but maybe a little bit tougher with longer ingredients. But once you get it in there, it's smooth sailing after that, as long as you're consistent with your portion sizes. And, you know, if you had, say, maybe more than you normally would have, you could just say like 1.5 if you feel like you ate that plus another half of that. Or, you know, if 25% more, 1.25. Just kind of do that simple math to figure that out. So those are the 3 ways to journal your food intake with the app, and the app will break down your nutritional intake. There are some other buttons that I wanted to point out. There is the add a free form entry and also take a photo right here, as you can see. And these aren't typically recommended unless we are focusing more on behavioral based goals and we're not really having you really track very closely your nutrients. But it can be useful for quick documentation if you're in a rush, and this will help you to more accurately track your intake later. Rather than having to remember, you can actually just either take a picture or type in what you had. So add free form, I'm just gonna say, type in what I had: salmon, rice, broccoli. And it does come up with some suggestions of what it thinks that you had, and you could actually use that data if you want. I'm just gonna hit save here. I'm gonna delete the last recipe so we could just see what happened. See how it was free form, so it doesn't really calculate the nutritionals. If I did click on one of those other ones, it would have, but I think that it's more of an estimate, so better for just typing something real quick and tracking later. So I'll delete this. The other option would be to hit add, take a photo, and this is actually going to open up my photo app. And hey, it's me. I don't have any food in front of me, so I'm not going to take a picture, or I'll take a picture of myself. And boom, it puts it right in the app. So that would be a picture of my plate, and I could hit save, and then I could come back later and more accurately track it. So there it is. That's me. But again, it would normally be a food item, a plate, something you got at a restaurant that you just don't have time right now to track and you want to just document it and track later. So I will delete this because I don't need a photo of me in my food tracking app. Now I got a bonus trick to show you that is very, very handy. So let me just show you how this works. Say that, I want to copy a meal that I had yesterday. If it's the exact same meal or if it's very similar, I could copy a meal. You hit this little arrow at the top right, the arrow pointing to the right. You click that arrow. Whatever day you're on, it's going to copy it to that day. So I'm going to actually copy Thursday's breakfast. That's my normal breakfast. Today it was a little out of the ordinary for me, so I'm just going to copy the normal breakfast and see how easy this is to copy my smoothie breakfast that I have basically every day from 2 days ago. And you can copy it from a week ago. You can copy it from any time. The only thing you can't do is copy a breakfast to a lunch. So it has to be a breakfast to a breakfast, snack one to snack one, lunch to lunch, and so on. So very handy. It'll save you a ton of time if you've put in the work, in previous days, entering in a bunch of things. Alternatively, my breakfast, I could just enter it as a recipe, but since it does vary, sometimes I use soy milk, sometimes I use oat milk, sometimes I use a different protein powder product. I just do it real quick and just make adjustments. For example, if I had soy milk today instead of oat milk, I would just delete the oat milk. I would add the soy milk, and it's all getting done pretty fast.
And the last thing I wanted to show you, which I did show you part of it on accident when I made that mistake, but is how to edit your recipes and how to edit the food that you've entered in using the nutrition facts labels or restaurant data. So again, you click on the hamburger icon at the top left, right next to the better. Click on nutrition. From here, you'll see My Foods, which would be the nutrition data you entered from nutrition facts labels and restaurants. I'll click on that. And so this is where you can see all of the stuff that you've entered in the past from different places. You could either delete them if you don't need it anymore, or you made a mistake and need to change something. You can click on edit and you can change all the details, all of the macronutrients, any of the other things, and then hit save. Same thing goes for the recipes. So you just click on My Recipes. You could delete recipes, you can edit recipes, make any changes that you need here. So very customizable and very handy.
So that is the Practice Better app and how to track your food intake. Now I'm going to take you to the kitchen, show you how to estimate portion sizes. And there's 3 different ways to estimate portion sizes, and I will tell you which ones are the most accurate and why. So I'll see you there.
All right, I'm in the kitchen now, and now that you understand the 3 different ways to track your food and practice better, I'm going to show you the 3 different ways to actually measure your food or estimate your portion size so that you can accurately track it into the Practice Better app. Feel free to use a combination of all of these, whatever works for you. There's not a wrong way to do it. There's just more accurate ways and less accurate ways to track your food. So the least accurate way, which is still great and it's fast, you can do it at any time, is comparing your food to household items as well as, body parts like fist, thumb, fingers, things like that. So I'll go through each of them real quick. So the size of your fist is roughly the size of a cup. So you can estimate that. See how my fist kind of fits in this cup here. So you can eye that out on a plate and kind of say, okay, that's about a cup. We have a cupped hand would be about half a cup, or maybe the size of a tennis ball. That would tell us that it's about half a cup. The tip of your thumb is about a tablespoon. The thumbnail, a teaspoon. A deck of cards about this big would be 3 ounces of protein or meat. A checkbook would be 3 ounces of fish. That's actually not on this handout. That's just one that you'll have to remember. A softball is 2 cups. So bigger softball is about 2 cups. And a smaller golf ball is about 2 tablespoons. So things like peanut butter would be good to compare to a golf ball. This is definitely the quickest way to estimate your portion sizes, but it is the least accurate. And so while it is fast, it's always good to calibrate yourself by using things like measuring cups periodically to actually see and calibrate your eye for knowing what a cup looks like, what a half cup looks like, what a tablespoon or a teaspoon looks like. Now the next method would be to use measuring cups, measuring spoons to really drill down on how much you're actually having of a certain thing. So I brought tomatoes as an example. So I can fill this cup with tomatoes, and then I could say I'm having a salad or something, or I'm making something with these tomatoes. I could pour them on the plate and I could see that looks like a cup to me, and that's kind of helping me understand what a cup of tomatoes looks like. You can do this with anything, rice, whatever it is, it'll work. Now it's important to note that a lot of times when clients are not seeing the results that they are going for, specifically weight loss results, a lot of the issue is them underestimating their portion sizes by using this first method where they're using their fist, using different household items, but they're just not calibrated properly. And so really sometimes we just have to take a step back and recalibrate, fill up your cup, see what it looks like, see what a cup of rice looks like, see what a cup of whatever it is that you're eating, cereal, could be anything, and just periodically check yourself, make sure that your estimating is on point. So that is the second most accurate way to measure your food, and the number 1 most accurate way to measure your food intake is by using a food scale, because this really takes away from variation in the sizes of food or just differences in the way that you're measuring it. This is better than using measuring cups and a lot better than doing the estimating, but it's not always practical. So while you can use it in some cases, other cases it may not work. I've found it useful for things like avocados where the sizes vary so much. I've found that the Practice Better avocado in there is one of the really, really big ones. And so by measuring, I learned that when I get small avocados and I use half of a small avocado, that's actually a quarter of the avocado that's in the Practice Better app. And so it just helps us really drill down on the accuracy of certain things like avocados. And so that makes sense there. It may not make sense in other cases, like a slice of bread. That's pretty simple. You could just log a slice of bread if it's whole wheat or if it's white bread. I don't think it's necessary to weigh it, and it doesn't make sense to measure it in the cups either. So to weigh your food, all you do is you get a Tupperware and you put it on the scale. You press on. That automatically sets it to 0. If it's already on, you have to press the tare button to set it to 0. Either way, just make sure it says 0. And then all you do is put the food in there, Looks like this is 6.6 ounces, so you could enter it in ounces. You could also change the unit to grams, and you can enter in grams that way too. And again, this is the most accurate way, not always practical, but if you're really trying to drill down on it, you're at home and you have your food scale, it could actually be an easy way to just really get that accuracy high. So those are the 3 different ways to measure your food or estimate your food so that you're more accurately tracking it into the food tracking app, Practice Better. So feel free to use any combination of these measuring techniques and estimating techniques. People will typically tend to calibrate with the cups and the scale, and then from there get better and better at estimating their portion sizes, and just every once in a while just kind of check yourself. But feel free to use any combination. It's whatever works best for you. And we will now go to a little bit more in the app where I wanted to explain a couple more things. So I'll see you there. Peace.
All right, so now that you know how to track your food information, you know how to estimate your portion sizes, I'm just going to quickly show you how to see your nutrient breakdown for each meal as well as for the entire day. So as you can see, this breakfast here, you see these little notepad icons on the side. You can click on each individual ingredient to see the nutrient breakdown there, or you could click on the one that covers the entire meal, and it will give you the full breakdown for that specific meal. All the macronutrients, all the micronutrients. And then if you scroll down even further, you can get the entire day at the bottom. So this is the nutrient breakdown for the entire day. It shows how many calories are coming from protein, carbs, and fat. So basically your fuel mixture. It's showing you how close you are to reaching your target for calories that I will be setting for you depending on your goals, as well as protein. We may or may not set carb, fat, and fiber goals for you right off the bat, just depending on where you are and again what your goals are. You scroll down further, you could see the calories, you could see the carbs, the fat again, and the protein, but also it goes into further detail like types of fats, as well as all the micronutrients like the vitamins and minerals. And typically what we do is we'll set a calorie goal for you after your first week of baseline tracking. And as time goes on, we'll probably add a protein, and then a little more time will go on. We may add a carb, we may add a fat goal, and we may add a fiber goal, and possibly some other nutrients. Again, just depending on what your goals are and what you're striving for. And so I'll be able to use all this information to run reports before each of our meetings that will give me your average nutrient intake over the full week. So I'll really get that high level view of what your average nutrients look like. I'll be documenting that in a spreadsheet and just tracking the trends and helping you just make those slow and gradual changes to make improvements to help you reach your goals and get to where you're trying to go. And so remember, as time goes on, this will become easier, and we truly aren't working towards perfection. This is just a tool to help you learn, help you optimize your eating habits, and eventually be able to continue those new habits without needing to track at all. That's the ultimate goal. This is not a lifelong thing. This is just a teaching tool to help us to get down your daily habits to somewhere where you're not even going to have to track or really even think about it anymore, because it'll just turn into what you do. So do the best that you can to track your food and drink intake, but take your time again and just learn the system and have fun with this. So happy tracking, and let me know if you have any questions at all.